Bre Erickson is here with us. Hi, cutie.
I'm so excited to be here. Wait, I have to say, you didn't even finish introducing me, but I have to say, when you asked me to be on, Andrea Wilde asked me to be on her podcast, I was so honored.
Stop.
Because you're so ambitious and you're so driven and all these things that I want to be. And I'm like, I look up to you so much. So she asked me and I was like, what?
No, I'm so honored.
Whole year.
I've been so excited, like leading up to this as we've been, texting and we hung out a few weeks ago and I was like, I cannot wait to interview Bre. So
you are so
But
sweet.
it'll just feel like we're hanging out.
Yes, I know. That's the best part about
so
this,
fun.
honestly.
So this is like the only formal part of the whole thing is I'm going to give your formal introduction.
Okay, perfect.
So I'll just get right into it. Okay, Bre and Blake have been married for nearly 3 years. They have an 18-month-old son named Covey, who is so freaking cute. I love his blonde hair. And are excitedly expecting another boy. Yes. Over the past few years, Blake has worked as an entrepreneur, real estate investor, and regional manager, overseeing more than 200 door-to-door sales representatives. He recently transitioned to co-founding a company with Benjamin Hardy called Strategic Scaling, which is so exciting. I'm so stoked for him. Bre loves being a mom and wife, embracing these roles as her true callings and finding immense joy and purpose in them. She and Blake share a passion for self-investment and learning from those around them who are accomplishing great things. So that's your formal introduction.
So okay, I have to say, when I was writing the introduction, it was really hard for me because I don't have the same accolades that my husband does, and so
like on paper.
Yeah, exactly. Because I am stay-at-home mom. I support him. We originally crafted this whole goal and this whole plan for our life when we first got married. And to do that, my job so that he can go out and do what he needs to do is to stay home and take care of things at home.
Yes.
And so that we can both make our goals happen, right?
Yes.
And so doing that, I don't have like this big like entrepreneurial thing that I do or anything like that. And so I was like, shoot, what am I going to put? I know. I'm like, I'm greatest stay-at-home mom, but no, I'm just kidding. But
no, I love that.
But it was really cool for me to hear that this was kind of like, that was the vision.
Yes, that is the purpose of this.
I don't hear a lot of people, all the time, because there's not a lot of people that are going through this side of things a little bit. And so I feel like it's so awesome to know that you're putting this thing together where like somebody else going through this, there's another mom or another wife that's going through this same thing that can understand or relate, or you know what I mean? Because you don't hear it very often.
Yes.
But anyways.
Well, and that's really like what this podcast is totally about, is because I really want there to be a light shown on how important it is to have that support, because me being an entrepreneur, I know how important that is to have my husband's support in all the things, right? In mothering and wifing and my business. And so I just see all these successful men out there like Blake. And I'm like, one of the biggest reasons I think why he is so successful, and I've talked to him about this, he's like, Bre is a freaking biggest support ever. And I love that you guys have crafted that to be able to do the things that each one of you are so good at. It's because you have the support of others, which is super cool. So in that breath, tell me what that looked like when you did craft that. I know you guys kind of sat down years ago, and what did that look like?
Totally. So truly it kind of all started when we were dating. This is so silly, but I was this big dreamer. Like I was constantly telling Blake all these things that I wanted for like a future and like all these things. And he was so good at just being he's such a listener. And so I would just come up with these things all the time. And when we got married, he actually sat me down and was like, listen, to be able to do all of these things and to create what we want for our future and all these goals and to do it rapidly, it's going to require you're basically not going to we're not going to have the same relationship that most people do at this time of their lives. It's going to look a lot like you're going to be home alone a lot and I'm going to be out working, or you're going to be sitting down for dinner probably by yourself a lot of the times while I'm on the phone in the office, or just a lot of things like that. And he really laid it on me, like it's going to be a lot different than what what
our parents have at this stage.
It's not the most traditional at all.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And so he really prepared me for that. And so when we got married, we put together this idea of what we both wanted for our lives and how we would have to execute that together. Yeah. And for us, what that looks like, and I know it's so different for everybody, but for us, what that looked like is we wanted to experience success is so measured in so many different ways.
Yes.
But this specific type of success that we are wanting to see is just to be able to spend a lot of quality time like freely with our kids and together. And to be able to do that, we would have to rapidly get to this success the way we wanted to be able to do it at a young age while our kids are young, in the house, all the things.
Yes.
So we just decided that our lives are going to look a lot different than most.
At that stage or phase of life. Yes.
Totally. Where he's just going to be out of the house. Mm-hmm. He's going to be working majority of the day, and that being like 8 a.m., 7 a.m. to like sometimes 1 a.m.
Oh,
you know what I mean?
Yes.
So, I mean, that was kind of where we started.
Yes. Well, and I think especially a lot of women out there who are wives of like door-to-door sales, especially, that's like a real thing that they could all relate to be like, oh my gosh, like you have to figure out you outside of your husband and outside of his role and your relationship. Like that's a big deal to like find yourself in that, you know?
Totally. I agree with you.
So with like crafting this, did that give you like the clarity for yourself to be able to be like stand in your own role and be like, okay, these are the things that I can get really good at? Like, tell me more about the like home CEO of the home, situation that you've built for you personally.
It's so funny because if you were to ask this question like 3 to 6 months ago, it would have been so different.
No kidding.
It hasn't been. Yeah. So it hasn't been like this perfect. We knew all the things right off the bat. It's been a trial. We've had to figure out what does work, and we've figured out for sure what doesn't work. Yes. And even today, we're still figuring out what does and doesn't work because throughout the years, things change drastically and we need to like reevaluate. You know what I mean? Totally. So
the learning that comes through the trial and error. Yeah, totally. For sure.
So in the beginning, it was a lot different. We just played our roles out so specifically in the very beginning. So for him to be able to go out and do what he does, I have to be at home, like making sure he's not worried about what's going on with the kids or what's going on with me even a lot of the time. You know what I mean? And so a lot of it is just by his example. It's really cool. I really look up to him a lot for this. He's very disciplined. He's very just driven in the way he does things. And it kind of, because he's so good at that and he's so good at making sure everything is so taken care of with me and with our son, I'm able to
like shine in your role.
Totally. Yeah, totally. It's really awesome. And I think that if it wasn't for him and the way he does things in that way, I for sure wouldn't be able to be at home doing it the way that I can or the way that I do. Yes. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So. Well, and that gives like freedom in both, you know? I've thought about this a lot, just like traditional roles, because I'm like extremely feminist. Yeah. So I'm like, okay, in what aspects in my own business and relationship with Shane, it's like, what does that look like? And I think the important part is you get to stand, there's freedom in just assigning roles and responsibilities, right? Like I remember I owned a company with my brother and my husband, and there were 3 of us. We started it together, all these things. And it was kind of just a little messy at the beginning, like most businesses are, right? It was messy until we assigned the roles and responsibilities. And we wrote down every single thing that we needed to in our business. And then we're like, okay, Spencer's in charge of this, Shane's in charge of this, Andrea's in charge of this. So that way we could just freely trust each other and choose like, okay, how does this look? How are we going to show up the best that we can? Yeah. And then it was like we could all take a deep breath. Yeah. And I think that's kind of what you're saying, where you really worked on your individual roles and responsibilities so that like you can trust him in his role and he can trust you in yours. And I think that's like all of like the femininity in me is just saying that like you decide what feels most aligned with like your goals and ambitions and talents and joys, and you go and do that all in, you know, and then he can stand in his masculine of whatever that looks like. Totally. And those roles might be reversed, right? Like maybe someone feels like their husband needs to stay home and they're out working, but you can stand true in whatever that like role and responsibility really is, you know?
No, I totally agree. It's for us because of what he's doing, because what he is doing is so demanding. At what I have to be doing is also a lot of a sacrifice, right?
Yes, yes.
And I feel that we are not the most traditional because of the way we go about it.
Yes,
we definitely believe in just living life by design, and also we had to add people to our team to be able to execute on a lot of the things that we need to do, right? So for us, it looks a lot like he has an assistant and she deals with like the tedious things and the things that kind of take a lot of his time that he can delegate to her, right? And then I have essentially an assistant too. We call her our house manager, and that basically allows us to be able to, and we've been blessed to be able to add these team members, right, to our life. And because of that, it just allows us to be able to like have some quality time together, or to be able to sit down and like plan our weeks, plan our things, continue making sure and making sure that we're still hitting those goals and we're both aligned with each other. We're both still on the same page. And then also again, like spend quality time together. And I don't have to be like doing laundry or dishes, and he's not trying to work out little details with the business and things like that. So we can come together and things like that. And so it's really cool because, the way that we've been able to go about things has been able to provide that. And so, along with what you're saying, I totally agree. And just kind of figuring out those things together and what works for you and all the things. So I love that.
Well, and I think that idea there is like 1 + 1 is 3.
Yes.
Like then you're able to each be the best in what you're doing, so that when you come together, it's just like magic. Like it's working.
Exactly.
You know? So I love that. So you mentioned sacrifices, which I think is a huge part of being a supporter to any entrepreneur. Can you think of a certain like time or just overall theme or things that you felt like, man, this is a sacrifice, but I'm choosing to make it better for the building of this empire?
Man. You know what? It's really funny because I feel like a lot of people would be like, well, why did you sign up for that at the beginning? When Blake was like, our lives are going to be really demanding. We're not going to see each other, all the things. And it's because we both wanted the same thing. And so going into it, my sacrifice has looked a lot like, for what we want, my sacrifice has looked a lot like, I mean, when we first got married, we got married like a month before he had to go to sales, right? And so we got married, went on our honeymoon, came straight home, and I didn't see him the entire summer. And so
my gosh.
I know he's traveling a ton.
Right off the bat,
I know, right?
This is what we're doing,
right? So and then like the next year, we had our baby, and then a week later, sales started. Timing was crazy with that, but I know. So he left, and I essentially had to just figure things out on my own. I had this brand new newborn, and I'm like sleeping at home alone every night, trying to figure it out. You know what I mean? And
postpartum Bre.
I'm like, oh man. I know, it's crazy, but I also want to give my husband a lot of credit because when he as soon as he got home, he like picked things up. Gave me so much of a break, and just when he's there, he's so good at being where his feet are, being present, all the things. So I just want to make that clear.
About Blake.
He's
totally
so good at that.
Yeah.
Anyways, but then it's like the year after that where we moved to California, and he's traveling all like the whole summer, and so like out of 120 days, I maybe saw him like 20 of the days. So my sacrifice looks a lot like kind of just a lot of alone time.
Doing this on your own.
And I get to see him maybe 1/3. I mean, like he's gone like 1/3 out of the year, and so. And then when he is home, it's like he's talking and on the phone, and it hasn't always been perfect because there definitely are times where I'm like, hey, you need to be more present, like off your phone during this time.
Yes.
And same goes for me because I'm used to him not being home, so I'll be on my phone or things like that. He's like, okay, let's be present. Let's be where.
Let's both.
You know what I mean? Yes.
Keep each other in check.
Yeah, totally. And so I feel like definitely the sacrifices, and it's also for our son. Now it's like he doesn't get to see our son, and a lot of the times because he's just working, just working away. You know what I mean? And so that has been it's been interesting to create a balance with that, and that I feel like the quality time and the time that we're losing right now is kind of our sacrifice, but
for the long-term benefits of that.
Yeah, but we definitely want to, I mean, it's a short sacrifice for a long time, or life, like a long-term goal. You know what I mean? So it's worth it. It totally is. And that's where we decided at the very beginning. And we reevaluate all the time, and it still is just like what we want. And so we just,
hey,
totally.
Yes. Well, and I think there's a lot of people too that I've noticed just when talking to other people who aren't entrepreneurs, sometimes it's like, well, don't wait to live like down here or whatever. But then it's also like, well, you're probably going to be working for 40, 50 years. And so what is the dream for you guys? Like I know a little bit just from like, going to dinner and stuff, but I want people to hear like, what is your dream outcome? What does the like long-term look like for you because of these short-term sacrifices?
So there's so many, like I said, success is measured in a lot of different ways. So we have, of course, like all of our levels of different things that we want in different categories. But I would say generally the thing is that the main thing is that we want to spend our time with our kids, as much time as we can, quality time with our kids, and build this specific life for them. You know what I mean? And basically freedom of time, freedom to do what we want with our kids, freedom to spend more quality time together, just freedom, you know?
Yes.
And I totally agree with you. A lot of people are like, don't waste your time for the future or whatever, or don't waste your time now trying to get things that you want in the future, right? But I also feel like, and that is true. A lot of that is true. And there's a huge sacrifice to losing like certain times that we have now. But we've already been able to reap the rewards of working as hard as he does and being so efficient and all the things and so demanding. We've already been able to reap the rewards of some things. And so a lot of and some of those things look a lot like us being able to have a house manager, or us being able to have an assistant, or you know what I mean? Us being able to be comfortable in our home and and feel like safe in our environment, like things like that. Just little things that we've been able to provide along the way for ourselves and our son. And I feel like for the future, it's just, we definitely want to, there's like a few different things, but little things like, I don't know, we want to serve like a mission for our church, and we want to be able to just build God's kingdom. We want to be able to serve the people we love around us, and be able to have the time to do that and focus on that. And so really, sorry, I'm rambling, but really it's just freedom of time and freedom to be able to
like choices.
Totally.
To be able to do whatever
yeah, definitely. Which is so cool because I feel like, and this could be controversial, but I feel like a lot of people, like you said, they don't get to retire until they're what? I don't even know. Like 60, 70?
Yeah, totally.
Something like that. But Blake and I both want, for us both and for our kids, for him to be able to be completely just as involved as I am, the mother, in their day-to-day life. And that is so important to us. And so if we have to sacrifice while they're toddlers for him to be able to do that in elementary and junior high, high school, and forever, you know what I mean? For every kid that we have, it's like we have to really like
bust it,
buckle down. And exactly. So, and it's cool because like I said, we get to see the rewards a little bit along the way, and then until we get to that point.
Well, even knowing you for the few years that I have, I've already seen that transition of like, when I met Blake, it was kind of in the heat of like the grind, right? And even like going to dinner with you guys at the beginning versus going to dinner now, I'm like, oh, it's already starting to shift, you know?
Totally.
And just these shifts of like, he has some exciting things going on. So like, tell me more about like the Benjamin Hardy thing, like how these things are transitioning, because it's, you know, he's still involved in the sales side, but it's starting to shift. Yeah,
definitely. It's I love this topic. I'm just so excited for him. It's so fun. I know.
So tell people like high level, like, you know, 2 to 3 minutes of like what that actually is looking like with that collaboration.
So, Blake Blake's business partner his name is Benjamin Hardy. He's from Florida, and he's this incredible book author. He essentially is, they're writing a book currently. They're co-authoring on a book right now.
I wasn't sure if I was allowed to say that. So I'm like, I'm not going to say it, but that's super exciting.
I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure it releases, it's at the beginning of the year sometime.
Okay.
So
it's almost there.
I know, I'm so excited. They are also starting a business called Strategic Scaling. And this book kind of plays a huge part in that. They're essentially, this business they're rapidly scaling like big businesses, right? And this is just Blake's, like, this is who he is. He is so good at this stuff. And Benjamin Hardy is like, he's incredible. It would be not fair to him if I tried to explain how awesome he is, because
I'm so
you'll have to look him up.
Too.
If you're listening to this, look him up. He's awesome. Anyways,
read all his books. Yeah.
Yes. Anyways, so he's really excited about that, and it's been really fun. And so we've spent the last 3 years. We've almost been married 3 years. We spent the last 3 years in door-to-door sales. My husband sold for a company called Hawks Pest Control, and he was really incredible at it. He had over 200 plus reps. Is that what you call it? I mean, reps. Yeah. And Blake's dream was just always to be, he's so good at speaking, and he's so good at like building businesses.
Inspiring
he's built a few and sold them, and like totally, he's so good at inspiring and just being such a good like leader, example, all the things. And so his dream and his like talent is just going out and speaking and all the things. And so eventually he just wanted to end up in that role. And so, this just he just had this feeling to reach out to Ben Hardy, and he did, and it's just kind of gone up from there. Blake's, I mean, you don't want to hear it from me, but Blake, he does some podcasts on it that he talks about just how that totally kind of came to be about, and they talk about it. I think Ben might talk about it in his book a little bit, but I'm not sure. Anyways, sorry, I'm probably giving too much.
No, I love it. We'll take all of it.
Yes, we're so excited for him, and it's so fun, and it's so cool to see even just how our lives are changing from going from pest control and transitioning to this completely new career that is exactly what he's been wanting for himself and for our family and all the things. And it's so cool. And I love seeing it and the way it's changed our lives, and it's awesome.
It's so cool. It's going to be cool. Like 2025, I think is going to be big for you guys.
Year
of just like, what's happening, what's adjusting. You're about to have a baby. You're
a baby, all the things.
Lots of new births in
we just
your life.
moved into a new house. We've got like our whole life is like completely
flipped upside down. Yes, but all for the better. And I think that is showing like that some of those sacrifices are already paying off.
Totally.
And taking those risks that might feel a little uneasy or whatever, and like going with that.
Yeah.
So that being said, one of the new birth things that I think like you've kind of recently had is just kind of, dabbling and thinking through your own real estate journey. Like, how does that fit in with your goals and what you're working toward? Is it something that just feels exciting for you to kind of have on the side? Or are you going all in, or where are you going? It's so
funny because I'm kind of in a place where I'm still kind of trying to figure it out. Blake was a real estate investor at one point, and then when we kind of made this transition to this new career, we ended up selling all of our real estate. And the original reason why I got my real estate license was to help him buy like homes and be the real estate agent on it and save us money and all the things.
Yes.
And now that we sold our houses and that's not like what we're looking for in our future, I'm kind of like, well, now what's this gonna look like? Should I take it on or should I not? And so I'm kind of in this place, but right now I'm like, I just want to be like I don't know, somebody for our friends and family to come to right now. And then after I have this baby and get out of like the newborn stage and stuff like that, I want to
reevaluate.
Yes, totally. And start looking more into doing real estate stuff, which I think would be so fun for me. Just kind of like more so a hobby. Like I don't know. But
well, you're so good with people. You're so good with connecting them.
Nice.
I think you're like a pro question asker. Thank you. Like every time I've hung out with you, I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm used to being the one asking questions. You're like so good at that. And so I think you relate relate to people so easily that I could see people just being like, of course I want you to sell my house, because you're
so
very
sweet.
like thoughtful and think of like what someone might want. And I feel like you'd be great at matching them up with
That is so
the
nice.
perfect home.
So nice.
No, I'm serious.
Thank you.
So I love that. Okay. The thing that I see about you and Blake that is so appealing as like friends of ours is
nice.
that I feel like you support Blake all in and vice versa. He does the same thing. So the question I want to ask is, what does Blake do to help you feel like a valued partner, and what do you feel like you do for him?
Yeah, I love that question. So I feel like Blake has almost essentially installed the confidence in me that he knows what he's doing. And although he values my opinions and what I think and all the things, and he always applies those. And he's so good at asking me like how I feel about certain, he never leaves me out of things. So that makes me feel A, valued, and B, it gives me so much confidence in him that he can go out and do crazy things. Like he can invest in certain things, and I'm not going to ask a question or bat an eye because I know that I trust that
trust.
Exactly. Yeah. Yes. And he's also so good. I mean, I don't know. I feel like you have to have so much trust in your spouse when you're in this place in life, because you're playing a big game, right?
Yes.
And so you have to be able to make big moves, and you have to have so much trust in your partner to be able to do that. I mean, our entire marriage, he's always had this consistency of making sure that he does exactly what he's going to say,
and that it's going to actually hit your goals of what you guys have decided together. Yeah.
Exactly. No, that is so perfectly said. And I mean, and then like another example is something even just as small as him spending time away from the house networking, for example, or he's golfing a lot for that specific thing, and those things are important to us. And so
building
and I
those
know
relationships.
Yes, totally. And I know as a wife, I know, and every household is so different, but like I know it's not the easiest thing to let your husband go out for hours and just go play golf while you're at home with the kids. Yeah. Yes. So I'm like, it definitely, it's not always like the easiest thing, but like we are just so aligned and in what we want and those goals. And I know I've said that 100 times, but really that is how I'm able to trust him and know that he's out there doing what we need to get to where we need to be. And I just let him do his thing. And I don't control him and tell him like, oh, you can't play golf, or you can't go do this, or don't invest in this, or do this with your money. If you want to go buy this, go buy it. You know what I mean? And he gives me the same freedom, and he gives me this, he has the same trust for me, and we are equal partners in that, you know?
So totally. So with that, so what would you say to someone who doesn't feel that way? Because I feel the same way about Shane.
Yeah.
Where I'm like, I just trust, I want to be in on all the details more because I'm curious, but like he's going to trust me to do my thing and I'm going to trust him. But what would you say to the woman that like doesn't trust in that?
No, I totally get that. You know, I honestly think that's such a good question. And again, it's so different for everybody because every household and every need for every family is so different. But I think the biggest thing is just sitting down with your spouse and just deciding what you both want. If you're both on the same page, it should be, in my opinion, a little bit easier to kind of execute that.
Yes.
But if you're not aligned in your visions and you're not aligned in those goals, then it's a good thing to reevaluate and kind of figure out and meet in the middle where you want to be.
Totally.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
So I would say that's the biggest thing for Blake and I, is just making sure we are always on the same page with what we want for our future.
Yes.
And like short-term future and long-term future. You know what I mean?
Yes.
We are huge in Sunday planning.
I was just going to ask, what are your systems?
Yes. We are so big. And my husband, he came out with a planner that he's so good with planning. I actually learned this from him, so I can't take a lot of credit, but it has tremendously changed my life. He is so good at waking up and writing. He does like his top 10 every single day, and it's like his top 10 biggest goals, and he writes them out every single morning to make sure that like he doesn't forget. Yes. And so we've kind of done that as a couple where I backtrack. He came out with a planner. It's called the weekly, what is it called? the morning playbook is what it's called. And so that's our goal book. And so we wake up every morning. We make sure, not every morning, but on Sundays together. He wakes up every morning and does it. I do my own thing every morning. But on Sundays, we come together and we make sure that we're remembering and writing down our goals and then saying, what do we need to do this week to execute that so that we can get there and be better the next week and things like that. So just making sure that there's that one day every week that you come together and for us, that we come together and just make sure that we're aligned. Totally. And then we have like our monthly and then our yearly. And then we also have like, kind of newer. We're wanting to plan like a family mission for like our kids and things like that. And I just feel that, I mean, Blake's family has a family mission and things like that. And I just feel like they have all, because of that family mission, I've just seen they all just apply it so well to their lives. And it's because like they grew up. Like,
it's like ingrained.
Yeah. Which is so cool. But yeah, anyways, that's the best way that works for us at least. And yeah.
Well, and I love that like your executing looks different, right? But that planning and that initial like coming together is like, okay, we're good. Like we're all aligned. And that's where you can have those conversations where you're like, oh, I'm not really sure like where we're at. Then you realign, reevaluate, get back to it, you know? One thing that came to mind that I was just thinking about is those like roles and responsibilities when you like define who's doing what role and what responsibility, and it has that freedom within that. I also think you could say, okay, for me to execute this well, what does that look like to you? And vice versa. Hey, what does it look like when I'm investing, if I'm going to invest more than this amount, do we need to have a conversation about it? Or if you're like, if I'm making a decision, you know, about our sons, like I need to talk to you about this or that or whatever, because I think there's the freedom and the trust, and then you can just like keep perpetuating that, you know?
For sure.
And I see that in you guys.
You're so nice. There's definitely those things where we do, it's not like I'm like, hey, do your thing, don't tell me anything.
Totally, yes.
No, we definitely talk about it and we keep each other up to date. And so if somebody does have it, which it doesn't really happen because there's that trust, but but if it does, it's like we're always communicating to each other. We're always, you know what I mean? And so if there is something, we have the opportunity to pitch in kind of thing. You know what I mean? So
I love that. So one of my other questions I wanted to ask you was, what does a day in the life of the Ericksons look like? So if it's easier to do week view or something versus a daily view.
It's so funny.
What does
I feel
that
like
look like?
It's not as exciting as like it might seem, but
that's great.
I'm trying to think. Our daily, we wake up every single morning together and we go wake up our son, and we kind of just, it's pretty early, but we all kind of just lay in bed together for a little bit and just spend time with Covey. And he is the funniest in the mornings. It's like our favorite part of our whole day before we get started, just spending time with him. It's so fun. And it's such good quality time for us together every day. And we don't get a lot of quality time. So when we do, it's like, it's our favorite. And anyways, then Blake goes to the gym, and because we have our house manager, it gives me the freedom to be able to go and do the things that I need to do.
I love that.
Like go to the gym and just things like run errands. All the things that we're all like, it's so hard to do with kids.
Totally.
So hard. So I feel really blessed to be able to have that every single morning. I can count on her for a few hours and be able to just go and do what I need to do. And then she has him down for a nap by the time I get home, and he's home, and I make Blake breakfast.
Oh, you're so cute.
You're so nice. Don't let that fool you though. I'm not much of a cooker. Blake is the chef of the family.
Is he really?
Oh yeah, he's so good. I try really hard, but I'm not that good.
A for effort. A for effort.
But anyways, so I try to make him breakfast and stuff. He's I don't know if he wants me to say this, but I'm going to. He's doing a fitness show next year, and so he has like this really strict like diet. It's so funny, but it makes it easy because he eats like the same thing every day. So I'm like,
I can do that. I can do it. Yes.
But anyway, so I just make him breakfast, and sometimes we sit down together. Not very often, but when we do, it's fun. And then I just spend time with Covey. I think I want to also put out there that although I'm like stay-at-home mom, and a lot of my role is just kind of like making sure, like CEO of the household kind of thing. Yeah. I also have like my own identity outside of that, where it's like and as much as I support Blake going and doing his thing and spending time with his friends, going golfing, all the things, he does the same for me, where it's like I can go on a girl's trip and leave him with the kids and trust him that he knows what he's doing, all the things, which is so awesome.
That's so important.
So important. And I mean, yeah, it's great. And I feel so blessed that he's so willing to be able to let me do that, the same way I'm letting him do that. You know what I mean?
Totally.
But so I have my own identities outside of it, and relationships are so important to me.
You were like a relationship queen.
Oh yeah, I love my friends, love all my family. I'm like, I'm always just like, so what should we do today? They're like all the same people.
So social.
So funny. Yes, but I have a lot of my college friends all got married and then also had the same kids all within the same year that I did.
Gosh,
the same years.
so
I know.
lucky.
So all of our kids are like the same ages, and me and Covey spend a lot of time with them. So we'll typically like spend like 2 or 3 days out of the week just going and spending time with them. Yes, teaching our kids together and like just letting them play all the things. Going on mom walks, all the fun things. So relationships are really important to me. And so a lot of my day is spent just making sure that Covey's getting out of the house and I'm getting my social in somehow if I can with a kid. You know what I mean?
Totally.
So and then Blake is out. Yes, totally. And then Blake is just building our company and just working hard. It's different for him every day, but essentially the same thing that he's doing. Yeah.
I love that.
That's kind of it.
So tell me, just on that same topic of building your community and your friendships and all of that stuff, like that's pretty much what the Live Big Collective is, right? Is community and finding the people that like really get it. So what has that looked like for you, and how important has community been in this journey of yours?
Okay. If anybody out there listening is in my same situation or our same situation, I feel like connection and relationships and community the most important thing to have, because obviously that's your support outside of your support, right? And when your support is out being busy and all the things and working, you have to have that, or else I feel like you kind of go crazy as a mom, right?
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
So crazy.
100%.
It's a demanding job. It is. And so, just being a mom, but, and we love it too. But I feel like having that community and having those friendships and all the things has really been able to allow me to be as supportive in my husband as I have been, because I have these people to fall back on.
Because you're taken care of.
Totally.
In all the ways.
I feel loved. I feel like supported. I feel like served. And outside, my husband still does those things, but like outside of that, I have this huge community of girls and even family that are just there and wanting to be there and hang out and spend time and serve me and like just, and same me for them. You know what I mean? So I feel like that has been, I don't think I could be as supportive and mentally as sane as I am without having that. You know what I mean?
Yes, totally.
So I think that that's one of the most important things for sure.
Totally. I heard this thing one time. I think it was on like Facebook back in the day, like so long ago. But I think Sophia Bush said it or something, which I love her.
Me too.
But anyway, the thing that she said was this idea of relationship keys, that like you have a set of keys and like different people unlock different parts of you. And I love that analogy, because it's like sometimes we expect our spouses to be all of those keys for us. Like, and keys would be like, oh, our therapy person, or the person that makes us laugh the most, or that makes us think the most, or that creates, like this, like, I'm the only word I can think of is catty. That's not what I'm looking for. Like this, like, facetious, fun, crazy person in us. And we kind of think that like, our person has to be all of those keys. But what I'm hearing you say is like, no, I have friends for this and friends for this and friends for this and Blake for this and Covey for this. And, my mom or my sisters or all these different relationships. And I think there's something so beautiful about that, because it gives your spouse permission to not be all those keys once you realize that, and vice versa. You don't need to be all those keys for Blake.
And then it's not putting so much pressure on each other to
be everything for everyone or for each other. Yeah.
Totally. No, I think that was so beautifully put. You definitely, it's not all supposed to be on your spouse, vice versa.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think for sure they say it takes a village for a reason. Yes. I don't think even that just applies to just kids. I think that applies to,
I love that.
I think it applies to like even ourselves and just everybody in our lives. Like we need those relationships.
Yes.
Yeah.
Totally. And it like takes it to another level of like, okay, well, what am I missing in my life? Yeah. Because sometimes it's lonely being in an entrepreneurial household sometimes.
It is.
And so just being like, okay, if my husband is not one of these keys and I'm needing this, fill in the blank, like who can fulfill that for me, you know? Or who can I go out and serve so that relationship is fulfilled, you know? And I think it gives you, what I'm hearing from you is like you, throughout this entire journey, you haven't just depended on Blake to do A, B, and C for you. It's like he's fulfilling his role, but you have an identity outside of wife and mom that you want to build and protect. And I think that's something so cool and important as a woman in your shoes, you know, of what that would look like.
No, I completely agree.
It's kind of cool to see. Okay, I have one more question. So the last one, and then I have a surprise for you at the end.
Oh my gosh, you are so nice. I'm so excited.
Last question, I would just love to know what you feel like living big means to you. Like with the Live Big Collective, obviously we're talking about live big. What does that mean for you?
Don't play small, play big. There's no reason you can't have the dreams that you want faster than most people. You know what I mean? There's no reason that you can't live the way that you want to live. I just feel like go out there and get it. Like go out there and get it. Your dreams are there for you to get. And I mean,
I think that's huge because there is something to like just instead of waiting for it to happen,
wait for it.
Like just
go get it.
Yes.
Yes.
And
Don't
it takes
live
the
small,
action
live
of
big.
actually doing that.
In this world, it is so easy to go out there. I mean, we have YouTube. My husband learned almost everything from YouTube. Like he's dropped out of college and he started learning everything he wanted to do on YouTube. Yes. Like there's so much opportunity out there. Don't live small. You can have whatever you want out there. Just
I love it.
Yes, live big.
I love it. I love it. Okay, here's your surprise. So I had cute Blake text me a little note to you. So
I'm so excited.
I'm gonna pull it up. So this is just a little love note from B. He signed it B.
Oh my gosh, this is the best surprise ever.
You're so cute. Dear Bre, when I met you on December 4th, 2020, I knew that I didn't need to keep going on dates. Being in Provo, that was a relief. But the best part was finding exactly who I had been praying 5 years for. I wrote every day, in quotes, I am married to the most positive, loving, Christ-centered, and beautiful woman in the world.
Oh my gosh.
Anyone that knows you knows that's exactly who you are to the T, and I totally agree with that.
I love it.
You are the greatest gift, the best support, teammate, and friend I've ever had. I admire you, your dedication to motherhood, to being all in on our vision, to never complaining even when it's toughest. You are exactly what I dreamed of and more. I love you and am forever proud of who you are and who you are becoming. Thanks for everything, B.
You guys, that literally sums up my husband. He is that's the nicest thing. I had no idea. Yeah. I had no idea he was sending that.
I wanted to surprise you.
He is so sweet.
Cute.
That just made my entire day.
I love that.
I love him.
Well, I feel like everything that he wrote encompasses everything that we talked about today, like how Christ-centered you are and loving and supportive of everyone around you. But I've seen that so strong in Blake and his vision and your vision and combining that and the family empire that you're building. It's
you
amazing.
You are so nice, Andrea.
No, I'm serious.
I'm so serious. You and Blake, that was the nicest. That was so sweet. That just made my whole year.
Well, I'm just so impressed and so glad that I get to call you my friend.
Thank you. Oh my God.
Are
you kidding? So. I'm so happy. I'm, like I said at the beginning, I am honored. Like, this is so sweet.
Cute.
I look up to you so much. So that really means a lot.
You too, friend. So just wrapping up, I want to hear if there's anything on your mind or your heart that you're just like, I want to share this, or to the listeners that you're like, you just want to express closing up. What would you say?
Being the wife of an entrepreneur is not easy. It is not easy. I think just find your support outside of your support and figure out what aligns with you and your husband and go make it work. And also, my DMs are open. If you want a friend or somebody to go through it with, I'm always available.
I love that.
Yes, please DM me, because honestly, it'll help me too. We can go through it together.
It's a mutual. Yes, totally.
I love it. So, and thank you so much, Andrea, for letting me be able
here,
giving me the opportunity to be able to share all of this.
So proud of you, and so excited to see what this next year has in store for you.
Thank you.
You guys have
You're
lots
the
of
best.
amazing things. So love you.
Love you so much.